Again, a lot more white smoke. They are making headway into this fire, but something I want to draw attention to, we're going to go up and we're going to go out. Notice how far this plume of smoke travels. We're talking miles and miles and miles because of that gusty wind. This is a live look. This is actually live, folks. This is not video. This is what's happening now, and they've been out there for over an hour now fighting these flames.
As Dave mentioned, the winds, you can get another vantage point here. This is from drone video that we took earlier today. You can just see how massive that fire is and what firefighters are really up against out there. I think we're going to give a live look now. We're hearing from our producer that it sounds like the news press conference is underway right now.
Thank God there's been no one injured or killed as a result of this. We know this could have been a whole lot worse.
So that's the big message right now. No one has been hurt in this. They confirm that.
That is the good news of this. No individual injured or killed in any of this.
Cases of the coronavirus continue to grow in Georgia, and the Coastal Empire is getting hit with its first confirmed positive cases, with 2 now in Chatham County and 1 in Effingham. Also, bars and nightclubs are set to close in Savannah after tonight, with the mayor declaring a state of emergency.
We will not hesitate to take additional actions should the conditions require it.
As bars and movie theaters start to close to slow the spread of COVID-19, you still have one more entertainment option. Let's just say you sit back, relax, and enjoy this blast from the past.
Plus, the beaches on Tybee Island are shut down, closed to all visitors.
High numbers of spring breakers, underage drinking, no social distancing at all.
And testing sites are up and running in our area. Good evening, I'm Mike Sela. Chatham County now has 2 confirmed cases of coronavirus with residents. Here's what we know. 1 person who tested positive is isolated at home. How that person was exposed is unknown. We've just learned about another positive case. That person is at Candler Hospital. Doctors say the patient is in stable condition. The number of confirmed cases statewide also increasing. Check that out. The latest numbers show there are 420 confirmed cases in Georgia.
Once I got down onto the ship and disconnected from the hoist hook, everything around you was black because it was so dark. I realized once I was there for a second, the ship is still moving.
Watch your descent, roger descent, watch your descent. Roger, thank you.
In addition to the ship being listing, it was evident to us that there was fires burning on board as well.
And the 4-4 is offload left. Correct, we're going to fly out forward.
I'm getting weaved between cables and stanchions and poles and,
a little bit of swing.
And railings and stuff that are all poking out, trying to impale me, essentially.
The wall is now the floor. The floor is now the wall, and when you look through the doorway into the bridge of the ship, you can see all the way down to the water.
There was no coming back up. There was no not going down and getting those 2 people out of the pilot house. There was no not finding the people that were injured to get them up off that deck.
Bring us over to survivor inside the cabin.
So you just sort of go out and get it done however it needs to get done.
It was honestly a miracle that those 4 guys survived, and it was such a relief to know that all of our efforts, we got them all out.
Woo! Yeah!
I think it's safe to speak for everybody here. This is why we joined. That's what we want to see.
Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for a WTOC virtual town hall. Now, it's a lot of uncertainties going on right now. Many of us have questions about the coronavirus, so we're really just going to get started right away with the mayor. What a ride you've had. Under 3 months you've been our mayor, and you've had a lot of challenges, especially with this pandemic and making decisions.
Absolutely. When I raised my hand on January the 1st and took the oath to be the 67th mayor of the city of Savannah, nowhere in the oath said we will be dealing with a worldwide pandemic. We knew about hurricanes, we knew about the challenges that come before city governments, but no way would I even imagined that we would be dealing in the crisis that we currently find ourselves in.
In retrospect, canceling the St. Patrick's Day Parade and Festival was definitely a good idea. We could have very well been in the state of New Orleans.
Dawn, I want to thank you and Wright and WTOC for offering me this opportunity, and thank you all, because the media is a big part I mean, you all have family and lives and things too, and yet, you're still coming here. People don't realize what an impact this is on your life. I mean, you're cute every day regardless, and I mean, that's just what you do, but people don't realize, you haven't seen your mama in quite some time. Hey, Miss Lula, I know she's watching.
This is the storm that is going to be most likely to produce a tornado or destructive winds within the immediate future. We're talking right now and over the next 10, 20, 30 minutes. So again, going to zoom down into that area, and I actually want to bring up meteorologist Andrew Gorton, and he is at home this morning, again, tag teaming coverage, of course, coronavirus, COVID-19 causing a change of paces here. I want to let you know we are all here in this together. We're keeping you updated as best as we normally would, just from different places. And we do have meteorologist Andrew Gorton live at home this morning. Andrew, can you walk us through some safe place guidance?
There are a couple of different places that you need to be here if you are going to be in your safe places here. So taking max to full, this is what we're looking at here with your home. You want to make sure that you are in the center of that home.
Walk us through a little bit. What is this like for you guys? I mean, you live just down the road, no damage to your own house.
Right. It was very scary. We got the actually the first alert on our phone, so we got up, got the kids, got it ready for the closet, and we never heard the loud train sound, but it was very scary. And then we come out to check on the neighbors, and they are devastated. I mean, we've never seen anything like this.
Over my shoulder, you might be able to see here in the distance a few cars that were actually flipped over on their roof, on their side. A home was actually tossed off of its foundation. Fortunately, I'm told the woman inside that home was able to walk away miraculously. But I did confirm a couple of hours ago with the emergency management director here in Hampton County, Suzanne Peoples. She says there are 5 deaths here in the county that they can confirm right now. She did say that number could go up.
This home was for sale, and now, as you can tell, they're going to be figuring out what to do next. This is the porch, you guys, you can see, and as you can tell, the house just completely shifted away from that structure. The plumbing, all of it exposed now. The porch completely detached from the home in the back portion.
The tornado that touched down here in Hampton County last night caused trees to fall everywhere, on trees, on homes. One even fell on a little girl, and she says her father saved her life.
So I was sleeping last night, and the tornado came, and all I heard was a crack, and then the house shook really badly, and then the tree fell.
To 10-year-old Charity Woods, most of this morning's storm is a blur, but her father will never forget it.
It's literally laying right there. I mean, I had to pull, she had this much room, I had to pull her out.
This is such a great day. We've raised already more than $6,000.
We knew we needed to respond quickly to the needs of people. People were already being laid off. Businesses were already being closed.
1 in 3 Americans were unable to pay their rent last month, so you can only imagine the United Way of the Coastal Empire has been getting thousands of calls to help people keep a roof over their heads and help people keep food on their table.
We do have an update on the total. We are now over $60,000 raised from today's WTOC Day of Giving telethon to benefit the United Way.
Continuing our coverage of a case that's gotten growing national attention, the killing of Ahmaud Arbery and the renewed investigation. This afternoon, Governor Brian Kemp said Georgians deserve answers in the case. We told you yesterday that the Georgia Bureau of Investigation decided to take over the case, and now the Justice Department says the FBI is stepping in.
The news starts right now with breaking news.
Protests that began this afternoon are continuing at this hour throughout the city of Savannah as people demand justice after the killing of George Floyd in police custody in Minnesota. Crowds marched on City Hall before dispersing throughout the city, gathering in several places at the Savannah Civic Center, the Savannah Police Headquarters, and other locations. As you can see from our WTOC drone video, hundreds showed up, if not thousands, to make their voices heard. Thank you for joining us for the news at 6:30. I'm Dawn Baker. WTOC is continuing to follow those protests this evening after a tense week of protest that spread from coast to coast. Breaking this hour, Savannah Mayor Van Johnson has announced a curfew beginning in just 2 hours. That curfew will go on into effect from 8:30 tonight and lasts until 7 in the morning.
Hundreds of protesters came out here today. Protesters filled Bull Street, and this is all in response to the killing of George Floyd, as well as other black men and women, to what they see as police brutality. Now, as I was walking alongside some of these protesters, you can definitely tell there was a lot of frustration here, a lot of emotions here today. But this remained a peaceful protest. I spoke to Savannah Police Chief Roy Minter after it wrapped up, and he was pleased with how everything went. He and Mayor Van Johnson say they're proud Savannians showed up and practiced their right to protest. Johnson did speak to the media after and says law enforcement needed to see this today. He says he hopes officers think twice before they take action that deprives someone of their civil right. Johnson says the call to action won't end here today. Moving forward, he is appointing a blue ribbon panel to look at different types of disparity around the city.
As you've already heard, a really emotional day, and we have been following these protesters who have made their way here to Ellis Square. I'm going to step out of the way and give you a chance to see exactly what they're doing. They have congregated here at Ellis Square. Just minutes ago, they were sharing hugs, reading off the names of those we have lost. Black Lives Matter, they keep chanting, as well as no justice, no peace. I spoke specifically with Alderman Curtis Purdy, who has been in police work for nearly 20 years. He says he knows this day was needed in our city.
As far as a city official and a police officer, I can tell you that this is something that was needed. People are ready to speak out. They're ready for a change. They're ready for a movement forward, and the culture needs to change, and this is how we change it.
The SWAT team were blocking the steps. Eventually, the officers backed up, had their backs to the doors to get in. Savannah Police Department has a command bunker inside the Savannah Civic Center. GSP is also there.
WTOC continues to ask the Department of Labor about some of your concerns. Our Amanda Aguilar spoke to the commissioner about a common mistake the office is seeing on employer-filed claims.
It's just overwhelming.
This wasn't how Sabrina Davis and her two daughters imagined spending their Wednesday. Outside Savannah's Department of Labor office with chairs, a cooler, and food, waiting for answers.
They told me I was going to get money in 24 to 48 hours, and I still have not seen any benefits.
105 days later.
105 days later.
I asked Department of Labor Commissioner Mark Butler about Davis's situation, who said he spoke with her shortly after I talked to her about why her claim was denied, saying it was a complex claim with, quote, serious issues.
From what I can tell, she has exercised her right to appeal that decision, and she'll be able to present additional information just like you could in any type of court case.
The commissioner tells me some people may be waiting on a payment for the same reason as Davis, or an issue that could easily be fixed, like reaching out to the employer. This was the case for Stephanie Boaz, who has been waiting for unemployment benefits since March after her employer filed her claim.
Then I got an approval letter saying that I had been approved for the full amount. But every time I would go onto the website, it says still pending.
DOL took a look at her claim and fixed it following my interview with her, and she says she'll be getting 3 weeks of unemployment. Now, Butler admits it is taking a long time to get back to people. He says there's a lack of manpower in the offices. They are still dealing with a high number of claims, many that are fraudulent. He says the Department of Labor is working on and testing new tools every day to help make this process quicker and more efficient.
Now, we've heard from many of you about the problems you're having still getting financial relief due to the COVID-19 pandemic. WTOC's Amanda Aguilar shares the frustration of another unemployed Georgian and what the Georgia Department of Labor says about her issue.
I have been getting a little worried.
Leanna Maxwell is just another unemployed Georgian wondering how she'll be able to pay her bills.
It is hard.
Maxwell was laid off from her job in March. Her employer filed her unemployment and she received payments up until June. That's when she learned she was being permanently laid off.
They did say they were going to convert my claim over and it would take a couple days.
For 2 weeks, she received payments. Then that came to a stop.
And it said your employer is no longer filing for you, but you can continue to file for yourself.
She says the online system wouldn't allow her to self-file, and she was essentially locked out of her account. Maxwell reached out to her employer and the DOL, but received no help. So I reached out to the Department of Labor's commissioner for answers.
She had an extremely rare situation, probably 1 in 100,000, literally.
Butler says after several workers investigated her account today, they found something went wrong during the conversion from an employer-filed claim to individual. The GDOL says the office was able to solve Maxwell's issue and payments will be released to her.
Now, Amanda did ask the Department of Labor if it plans on opening any offices anytime soon. The commissioner says no. Commissioner Butler says it still isn't safe to reopen. He did say they are putting together a scheduling system where people can schedule phone consultations online. Now, we've done over a dozen stories looking into unemployment claims this year alone. Each story has a useful information to it to help you try to get the answers you may need. You can watch them by clicking on this story at WTOC.com. We are adding links to the previous stories at the bottom. Phase 3 of a COVID-19 vaccine trial got underway today in the U.S., and the first patient who received the vaccine was right there. You see her, our very own Dawn Baker here in Savannah. She is one of 30,000 Americans taking part in this trial. Dawn, tell us about what this experience has been like.
Well, I mean, it was very exciting, and I'm a little anxious about it as well. Of course, I don't know if I got the actual vaccine or the placebo, but I'm really excited to be a part of this, the solution. I think we've all been, I know I've been really anxious and stressed over the last several months, worried whether I would get COVID-19. In phase 1 and phase 2, the people who went through it, the most severe symptoms were a cold and a fever. So I figured that's the least kind of sacrifice I could make to ultimately perhaps help save some lives.
How did you become a part of it?
Dr. Paul Bradley has been my doctor for about 30 years, and he called and asked me on Friday if I would be a part of it. And I was skeptical at first, and I said, well, would you do it? He said, yeah. And I said, well, am I going to get sick? He said, you should not get sick. So I figured, you know, what a great way to help our country to get back to normal.
For the past several months, Dawn Baker has sat behind the desk here at WTOC, bringing you the latest information on the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, she stepped out from behind that desk to be a part of the solution.
Kind of sitting around wondering when this is going to end and hearing about all the people who have been so incredibly sick, including Lindsay, and also hearing about the large number of people who've died right here in America. And we all sit around and we think that we're helpless, we can't do anything. We wear our masks, we stay away from people, but we've really seen that that's really not enough. So I thought that it was an amazing opportunity to be a part of the solution. Who knows, this might be it that could save people's lives, and I think that it's time for all of us to do our part.
She's a person you've watched for years and trusted in the biggest moments. Today, she once again stepped up to serve our community, only this time in a different way.
You ready? Yes, ma'am.
She's the first person in the U.S. to get a shot in a phase 3 COVID-19 vaccine trial. Though she's a part of history, that's not why she did it.
You know, it may not ever benefit me, but you know, other people are going to have children one day. They're young adults like you, who we want to make sure that you have every chance you can to live to be a ripe old lady and see all your dreams come true. The most severe symptoms anybody had was cold-like symptoms, maybe a little light flu, nausea, a fever. I can deal with that. We could save lives just by going through that little inconvenience.
Getting the shot, whether placebo or vaccine, is just one step of this 2-year-long process for Dawn.
That was not bad at all.
She has to monitor her symptoms daily through an app and will have multiple in-person and phone call checkups. She says despite the commitment, it's worth it.
I think it's really bigger than me, but what I hope people see is that we all are important and we all can be a part of solving this.
In our lifetime, this may be the most important clinical trial ever. It is very much like when our parents went and took the polio vaccine. This virus has got to be put in its place.
Through WTOC, we're achieving something great, which is the fact that we will be able to show Picnic in the Park to over 75,000 households, more than we have ever achieved at Picnic in the Park in Forsyth Park.
We were able to find a way to be able to hold this event, hold the quality of it, and I predict that really because of the digital platform and certainly partnering with WTOC, that we'll have over 100,000 people this year to be able to witness and to enjoy this wonderful, family-friendly, citywide event.
WTOC is hosting a debate for Georgia's U.S. senatorial race. with candidates, Republican incumbent David Perdue and Democratic challenger Jon Ossoff. In addition to WTOC here in Savannah, this debate is also airing on WRDW in Augusta, WTVM in Columbus, WALB in Albany, WCTV in Thomasville. The candidates are 8 feet apart, and as you can see, there is a plexiglass divider between them. We are following CDC recommendations. Thank you both for being here tonight, Mr. Perdue and Mr. Ossoff. It is our hope and our expectation that you can show voters in Georgia and our families an example of what civil discourse looks like and how to engage in passionate yet respectful debate. But thank you both in advance of that. We are joined by a live panel who will ask questions tonight. That panel is made up of journalists from WTOC sister stations that serve viewers all across Georgia.
Right now, we are joined live by the Chief of Staff for Vice Presidential candidate Kamala Harris, Karine Jean-Pierre.
The peach state is so critical in this election. The peach states could decide who is going to win.
WTOC's Jessica Savage asked Eric the same question Saria just asked Jean-Pierre a few moments ago. Take a listen.
It's been an interesting, campaign year for Georgia in particular. It's a battleground state. I can't remember in my lifetime it being a battleground state.
But it's a critically important state.
WTOC is your election station, and we are keeping an eye on several local and national races, including the race that will determine who will be the president of the United States. Tonight, we do have live team coverage.
Voters I spoke with earlier said they're very happy with how quick this process has been so far, and they're very happy with the precautions being taken inside the polling location. Now, poll workers are sanitizing machines, their social distancing measures are in place, and a lot of the voters are wearing masks.
Chatham County Chair of the Board of Registrars confirming to WTOC believe that someone messed with that absentee ballot box. Jake, what else can you tell us?
Well, Dawn, what we know right now, the chairman of the Board of Registrars says it appears some kind of tape was put over the ballot box slot sometime between 11:45 a.m. yesterday and 9 a.m. today.
The Georgia Republican Party and President Donald Trump's campaign has filed a lawsuit against the Chatham County Board of Elections. The two groups are asking a judge to order Chatham County to secure and account for ballots received after the Election Day deadline.
Zach Logan is standing by outside of the Chatham County Board of Elections. You know, Zach, this lawsuit took the Board of Elections by surprise. What exactly are they saying about it this morning?
We did speak to Chatham County Board of Elections member Antoine Lang. He says that the Board of Elections works to make sure that every vote is counted and secure.
Chairman of the board tells WTOC they are asking the city of Savannah to pull video of a ballot drop box at the community center since it happened on city-owned property. They will have to be the ones to pull nearby surveillance video to see who did it.
All eyes on Georgia, especially here in Chatham County.
People are looking at Georgia and looking at Chatham County and looking at Savannah in terms of helping to decide who our next commander-in-chief is going to be, or if we affirm the same one, and also two very highly contested Senate races.
Workers are still counting thousands of absentee ballots in Chatham County.
It's something that we're going to be careful and methodical and get it right. It's going to be done right.
Meanwhile, a lawsuit questioning the integrity of the process in the Savannah area takes the spotlight.
That ballots may be being counted. Well, that's not sufficient. Courts don't resolve disputes about whether something may or may not be happening.
WTOC breaks down the accusations and the judge's ruling. Team coverage on this presidential toss-up starts right now on The News at 6. The entire state and the entire country is actually watching Georgia and specifically Chatham County right now. Chatham is the county in Georgia with the most outstanding ballots at this point. That means ballots that need to be counted. We do have a live team coverage tonight on ballot counting as it continues across the state. Sean Evans has the details of President Trump campaign lawsuit against Chatham County. Jessica Savage will give us a breakdown of Georgia's presidential numbers so far as they continue to be tallied. But first, let's go to Blair Caldwell, who was at the Chatham County Board of Elections. Blair?
Well, you guys, as you heard, I'm here at the Board of Elections, and if you can literally see them working behind me inside of the building here, we are told there is an adjudication process happening right now as they are working to continue to tabulate these votes and work to get them counted.
Today, a judge dismissed a lawsuit That was filed against the Chatham County Board of Elections in Georgia.
The suit filed yesterday afternoon by the Georgia GOP and Trump campaign called on the Chatham County elections and registrar's offices to follow election law and not count ballots sent in after 7 p.m. on election night.
For all Georgians who have suffered the consequences of this virus, either themselves, their family, or their friends, we now see a light at the end of the tunnel, and we are so excited.
The day that many of us have been waiting for is here, a COVID-19 vaccine, and it made its Georgia debut right here in the Coastal Empire. Governor Brian Kemp and Dr. Kathleen Toomey in Savannah just a few hours ago announcing the very latest on the vaccine and what we can expect. Good evening and thanks for joining us for the News at 6. I'm Dawn Baker. Many believe this shot is our shot at long-term recovery for this virus. We have live team coverage tonight on this historic day.
It was a very big day indeed, Don. Today was a day that some of the first doses were given out here in the Savannah area. In fact, 4 healthcare workers from Memorial Health and St. Joseph's Candler rolling up their sleeves to be some of the first to get vaccinated in the entire state of Georgia. Governor Brian Kemp and Health Commissioner Dr. Kathleen Toomey were here to mark the historic day, and it was an exciting day. But we are only at the beginning of a long road ahead as the vaccine rolls out.
I'm joined by Dr. Jay Goldstein, and he is the medical director of the ER here. Walk me through, what does this day mean, knowing that you've been battling this disease or this virus since literally 9 months ago?
We've been waiting for this for a long time, so we're really excited to start the end to the pandemic. We love that the frontline providers, the ones that are going to be taking the vaccine first, and we're really excited to start moving the process forward.
Frontline healthcare workers have worked tirelessly throughout this pandemic, and they were the first to receive the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine today. And those I spoke with said the process was simple, and when the time comes, they want people to get vaccinated.
The Brunswick father and son who admitted killing an unarmed man have been denied bond.
I won't be satisfied till everybody involved. That's
right. After months of cries for justice and national headlines, the men were finally arrested yesterday. Rallies continue today in support of the arrest and the Arbery family on what would have been Ahmaud Arbery's 26th birthday.
Live, local, now. The news starts right now with breaking news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Bond has been denied for the 2 white men who shot and killed an unarmed black man in Glenn County. WTOC crews have been in Brunswick all day following the very latest on the investigation. We begin with our Right Gasaway.
Dawn, it has been an emotional few weeks for this Glenn County community as they tried to get national attention on this case. They finally did a couple of weeks ago, and now there have been 2 arrests made. The writing was on the wall earlier this week when the GBI took over the case, given the very public statements from the governor and the GBI director. Now, 2 men are in jail.
The bond in that case will be set at all by the Superior Court judge.
A judge officially denied bond for Gregory and Travis McMichael this afternoon. The former law enforcement officer and his son are charged in the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery. Graphic cell phone video led to a national uproar over the case and the fact that no one had been arrested. Earlier this week, the governor and the GBI director called the prosecutor on the case and asked if they could help. Director Vic Reynolds says no amount of social media pressure led to the charges.
None of that matters to the GBI. It doesn't matter who the person is. It doesn't matter who the victim is. It doesn't matter who potential defendants are.
Reynolds says all that matters are the facts and the law. In this case, Reynolds says the video makes it clear.
We applied the law to the facts in this case and came up pretty quickly with a solid belief that there's sufficient probable cause to charge the McMichaels with felony murder and aggravated assault.
The Glenn County Police Department handled the original investigation. The agency now faces renewed scrutiny over their willingness to prosecute people in the law enforcement community. The GBI can only investigate at the request of a local agency. Some say that should have happened much sooner. Reynolds agrees.
In a perfect world, would we prefer to have been asked to become involved in February? Of course. But sometimes it isn't a perfect world. So we have to deal with the situation as it's placed in front of us.
The agency has veteran agents working this case. Reynolds did not rule out more arrests, saying this about what his agents will do when the national attention eventually subsides.
And they're staying in this community. They're going to continue to work it, and they're going to go wherever the facts take them. If, in fact, the facts take them to make another arrest in this case, then they will do that.
Dawn, there is a lot to unpack here. The GBI can only come into an investigation like this at the request of the district attorney or the investigating agency. The Glynn County Police Department never made that request. Tom Durden, the prosecutor now over this case, is the one who made that request earlier this week. In his remarks today, the director did not make it seem like the GBI is working on this case now with the Glynn County Police Department. Instead, he says they took their investigative file and essentially started over with what the Glynn County Police Department had done. It's peculiar given the fact that the GBI normally works hand in hand with the original investigating agency. While the GBI director was addressing these arrests under the Sidney Lanier Bridge this morning, friends and family of Ahmaud Arbery were gathering at the Glynn County Courthouse where they were celebrating his life and also demanding that the district attorney in Brunswick step down. Now, Amanda Aguilar was at that rally today. Amanda, what a sight there today.
Well, right, Ahmaud Arbery would have turned 26 today, and people held balloons and they had signs wishing him a happy birthday. Today was the first time for many, especially those that never got a chance to know him, to learn about the kind of person that he was. Now, we heard from friends and family. They all say Ahmaud was a respectable young man, never left anywhere without saying, "I love you." And after sharing their memories of him, they held a balloon release and loudly singing happy birthday. And I was able to speak to Arbery's cousin on the phone today. He wasn't at the rally as he's been supporting Ahmaud's parents, but he says he'd like to see his cousin's life celebrated every day, whether that's through fundraisers, scholarships, even marathons. Demetrius Frazier says he just wants positive change to happen.
Ahmaud's tragedy may not change a lot that's going on in the world, but it would be the spark to the brain that changed the world.
Now, there is another balloon release scheduled for tomorrow. That's at 1 p.m. The public is invited to that as well. That's going to be held at Sidney Lanier Park in Brunswick. Right, back to you.
Amanda, thanks for that. I, for one, was certainly impressed with the number of people there, thousands of people there outside the Glynn County Courthouse. Amanda, thanks for that. It's important to note here, there's a lengthy timeline. This shooting happened back in February, on February 23rd. Part of the reason people are so fed up is that they felt like this arrest should have happened much earlier. So the shooting happened on February 23rd. The prosecutor now on the case is a man named Tom Durden. He is in the Atlantic Circuit located there in Hinesville. He got the case on April 13th. Then fast forward to May 5th. That video leaked out early that morning. And then later that morning, Tom Durden said he would, in fact, take this case to a grand jury. That same day, the governor saw the video, the attorney general saw the video, the GBI director saw the video. All of them shared disgust at what it showed. The GBI director reached out to Tom Durden and said he wanted to be involved in the case. The district attorney then did make that formal request. Fast forward to yesterday, May 7th, and Greg and Travis McMichael were arrested by the GBI and by sheriff deputies at their home last night around 8:30, according to those arrest warrants. Now, we have gotten some more details about the second prosecutor involved here. The district attorney in Brunswick, Jackie Johnson, recused herself the day of the shooting. George Barnhill then took the case in Waycross. Jessica Savage is now breaking down that recusal letter he sent to the attorney general. Jessica, what is the AG's response, and what does that letter say when he did recuse himself?
A lot of the criticism in this case has been about District Attorney George Barnhill of the Waycross Judicial Circuit. Now, he was the DA who received the case by appointment after the DEA in Brunswick recused herself because of a conflict. Now, for the first time, we have a look at why he, too, stepped away from the case. Here's what Barnhill said in his recusal letter to the Attorney General. He has a son that works for the Brunswick DA, and unknown to him until about 3 to 4 weeks ago, his son handled a previous case that involved Ahmaud Arbery. Now, Barnhill also pointed out that Greg McMichael, one of the men being charged, who has been charged in this case, helped prosecute Arbery in a previous investigation. Now, Barnhill also said in that letter, quote, a local rabble-rouser took up the cause of Arbery and was spreading false information and calling for him to be removed from the case. And last night, in response to that public release of that letter we just read you right there, a spokesperson for Georgia's Attorney General Chris Carr sent this statement that reads in part, it has become clear to our office that the appointment should not have been accepted, and it is appropriate that he is no longer involved in the case. Now, the Attorney General has since appointed District Attorney Tom Durden in the Hinesville Judicial District. He has the case, and he is the one who requested a grand jury review and the GBI's involvement this week.
Jessica, the GBI director, a man named Vic Reynolds, was appointed by Governor Brian Kemp earlier in his tenure, and he's got a unique position. He was a prosecutor in Metro Atlanta. If there were 50 questions at that press conference this morning, I would bet 90% of them focused on that letter, the rabble-rouser statement, the fact that George Barnhill thought this shooting was justified, which Reynolds says very plainly it was not. In his opinion, it was clearly a probable cause there for a crime to have been committed. So, once again, a lot of those questions focused on that letter sent by Barnhill, but Mr. Reynolds really tiptoed around it. He refused to, I would say, straight on ridicule what Barnhill said. He said he could not speak to what Mr. Barnhill may or may not have seen, only that the evidence to him seemed to suggest there was a crime of felony murder committed here. We've got the breakdown on this website, on WTOC.com. We've got the latest in this case. We've got the information about the first appearance here by the McMichaels, as well as all of the letters you've seen referenced from Mr. Barnhill, as well as a timeline for you. We've also got that reaction from Arbery's family and friends, as well as from the GBI director. Dawn, there is a lot to watch for in this case. There will be a lengthy trial moving forward as it goes to a grand jury, and then if it is indicted, to a trial. So a lot of attention will be focused here in Glenn County, not to mention the GBI is still investigating, calling this still a very active investigation. Dawn?
And so many people are interested in this case all around the world, so a lot of people will be watching this. But we now turn to another tragic story out of Toombs County that we're following. Police there believe a pack of wild dogs attacked and killed a local doctor. The body of Dr. Nancy Shaw was found in a ditch early Thursday morning. Bureau Chief Dow Kennedy talked with investigators who say the death touches the community.
Lyons police tell me the autopsy results confirm what they already suspected, that this known physician and noted pet lover died at the hands of animals police are now trying to find.
Police spotted a car on Skyline Boulevard around 3 a.m., pulled over on the wrong side of the road, the car running and the door open.
Got out to investigate and subsequently found a female that was deceased in the ditch.
They recognized the woman as Dr. Nancy Shaw, a longtime internist at Meadows Regional Medical Center. The chief said she'd often stop at the police station and check on officers to make sure they were okay.
She was just that kind of person. She was just a caring person, and she was a friend of ours. And so when I realized who it was devastating.
The chief says police are working with other city departments to locate the pack of roaming dogs and take appropriate action.
In Lyons, Dow Kennedy, WTOC News.
Next, mayors around America say their cities are in financial danger and want the federal government's help.
A lot of clouds, temperatures still into the 70s right now. We're going to see some of those rain chances increase a bit for the evening hours. We'll have your full forecast coming up at about 6:18.
And before we go to break, here's a look at the latest COVID-19 cases in our area. In South Carolina, 7,367 cases with 320 deaths reported today.
Savannah police confirming this week the man they believe shot and killed a 17-year-old mother was arrested at a Garden City hotel. The U.S. Marshals Service Southeastern Regional Fugitive Task Force, with the help of several police units in Savannah, found 25-year-old Rashawn Paget and charged him with murder and aggravated assault. Sean Evans first heard from the family of the victim Wednesday and has their reaction.
It was mid-February this year when Savannah police released that they believed Rashawn Paget was the person responsible for shooting and fatally wounding Alexis DeVoe earlier that month near this intersection.
Just a few days after the death of their daughter, Alexis's parents were telling us they believed she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, not the intended target, when she was shot near the intersection of West 60th and Montgomery Streets. Her father also said he believed Alexis died shielding her 5-month-old son. About 10 days after her death, Paget was identified by police as the suspect, saying he was wanted for murder. We later learned Paget was also wanted in a separate incident, an armed robbery by Savannah State University police. Nearly 3 months to the day of her death, the man police are charging with DeVoe's murder was arrested and booked into the Chatham County Detention Center. I spoke with Alexis's mother, who says her birthday was on the same day of the arrest, and news of that was the best gift she could have ever asked for.
It's crazy how at 6 o'clock that night, the detective called me and said, "Hey, I got some good news for you. Rashawn has been apprehended." I just dropped to my knees like, "Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus." It just made my day. That's like the best birthday gift I could have got. I'm mad she's not here. I'm upset. I cry every day. But the fact that it's something that we can see, some kind of light coming to the situation, it's like gives us some kind of breather of hope.
A grand jury indictment on the charges Paget faces will have to wait until a judicial emergency is lifted in Georgia. In Chatham County, Sean Evans, WTOC News.
WTOC Jamie Casino traffic tracker in Springfield. We're in the northbound lanes looking southbound, and usually don't see this kind of traffic southbound, but Effingham County Sheriff's Office and EMS on scene of a two-car crash. Wrecker is there taking one of the cars away, but the other one looks pretty banged up, with EMS checking out the driver. Just a quick view of the maps where this is. We do have a slowdown at the bypass here on 21, so just take it easy, and that's going to take maybe 10 extra minutes heading southbound. And if you don't stop and look, you're easy peasy going northbound.
Well, Congress has approved billions of dollars in coronavirus relief money, but not much has gone to local governments. Mayors tell our national investigative team they need federal help to keep their cities running, although not everyone thinks that should happen. Here is Lee Zurich with tonight's COVID-19 tracker.
These days, Union City, Georgia Mayor Vince Williams rarely takes his hat off.
As many of us, we haven't had the opportunity to go to the salon or the beauty shop, so certainly it has been my bad hair day cap.
But the cap that hides his unkept COVID-19 hair comes with a message.
And certainly we've got to make sure that we reach to our federal government to let them know that it is time for all of them to put their thinking caps on.
He wants federal leaders to think about cities across the country losing out on critical tax revenue during the pandemic.
You think about your quality of life, where you live right now. It's not Washington that does that. It's your local government that does that. And if we have to start having a conversation about stripping away some of these services or minimizing them, that is going to put a huge impact on what a city continues to look like in the future.
Some federal lawmakers have been hesitant to send money to states to plug budget shortfalls.
If we're focused on dealing with the coronavirus crisis, fine, but it shouldn't be an excuse to bail out states for irresponsibility and fiscally reckless policies.
But the National League of Cities says over the next 2 years, cities will need a total of $500 billion in federal aid to plug coronavirus shortfalls.
We are being accused of needing to help to backfill our inadequacies, if you will, to be able to operate our cities. And that's so far from the truth. All cities must each and every year have a balanced budget.
For example, Lexington already faces an $11 million deficit. Cincinnati, $100 million. The mayor of New Orleans wants to take out a $100 million loan.
How long are these sales tax revenues going to be down? The longer they're down, the greater the impact is for the city of Albany.
Albany, Georgia is a coronavirus hotspot.
This is not something that's been brought on by fiscal mismanagement. This is a pandemic which will affect local governments just like it's affected businesses.
Mayor Vince Williams is more direct. He says federal leaders need to put that thinking cap on and help cities.
And if you don't get the money, are taxes raised or people laid off?
And those are things we will have to look at. Some of my colleagues around the country are already doing that.
Some cities have already furloughed workers. For example, Dayton, Ohio has furloughed nearly 500 employees, which is 25% of its workforce. Well, still ahead, Want to give you a live look outside, checking out the beaches. Beaches in both states have reopened. Later, we're going to tell you what you should know if you plan on seeking the sun this weekend. Chief Meteorologist Dave Turley also has your Mother's Day forecast coming up next.
What a great way to end the work week here. Started out with temperatures right about 50 degrees, made it up to 80. No precipitation in the forecast today for right now, and we're still seeing these temperatures holding into the mid to upper 70s from most areas, even still a few 80s from Hinesville, Jessup into the Waycross and Brunswick area. And I think we'll see these temperatures cool down a bit. By midnight, we're talking about some upper 60s with still a little bit of a breeze out of the west-southwest. By daybreak, yeah, well, those temperatures getting back in the low to mid 50s from most areas. So a little cooler start out there as we begin it tomorrow morning from what we're going to see in here over the next couple of days. Fair and Fair First Alert Live radar dry now. That was the sea breeze moving through parts of Beaufort County. We are looking at some showers back to the west out ahead of the next cold front. That'll be racing into the area overnight tonight. And by the time it gets here, not a lot of moisture with it. So a lot of clouds will be advancing in here as we go hour by hour. There we are at midnight. Maybe a few sprinkles moving on in here through about that 3 to 4 o'clock hour. Then after that, quickly going to be clearing out from north to south. And that means by the time you really wake up tomorrow morning, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, I think we're going to see a lot more sunshine. And temperatures should get back in the low to mid 70s. So there's the cooler weather behind that cold front coming up for our Saturday. It'll be a dry day. Rain chances down across northern Florida. And I think they're going to stay down to our south for Mother's Day. We'll have to watch that one closely. Computer models are suggesting a cooler start, though, for Mother's Day. Maybe some 40s out there for the inland areas. But nice in the afternoon, a mix of sun and clouds. We are going to see temperatures getting only in the low to mid 70s for your Mother's Day, as it'll be below average. But we do warm things up there on Monday. And then another cold front moves through Monday morning. That'll be a dry front, bringing in some cooler air Tuesday briefly. But then it's 80s for the rest of next week. We'll be back with more of the news after this commercial break.
Here's a live look at Hilton Head Island from our Stokes Toyota Hilton Head Skycam. Beaches are opened up last weekend for the first time this season, and even more visitors are expected to come this weekend. Our crew on the beach today found out many visitors are from out of town, some spending the weekend from Tennessee. Hilton Head leaders have asked visitors from other states to stay away, but many just didn't get the message. Two locals said while the beach wasn't as crowded as they thought it would be, they were shocked at how many people were actually there.
It's definitely less crowded. There's a lot of cops out too, just to make sure no one's getting together. It's less crowded, but there's a good bit of people out here.
Well, and people are social distance. I mean, everyone's 6 feet apart, so we weren't worried about it.
The Beach Patrol is on the sand today, making sure everyone stays safe and follows all the rules. Let's take a last look at our traffic, though, Jamie.
We're in Springfield on 21. We're looking northbound as you're seeing the southbound traffic slow down for a two-car crash, and that second vehicle on the wrecker right now with the other car/truck with the other wrecker. So it looks like they're maybe another 30 minutes before they'll clean this up and everything's clear.
All right, thanks a lot, Jamie. You all avoid that area if you possibly can. Come on back for the news at 7. Good night, everyone.